Okay. I know why you clicked on this video. So you're looking for another one of those financial gurus on YouTube to teach you how to invest your money like a smart, responsible individual. And honestly, what better way to do that than putting your money into something where you're 100% guaranteed to get your value back, right? So I had a brilliant idea. Random Steam keys. So today I bought 15 random Steam keys and we're gonna find out if this is actually a worthwhile investment or if it's a complete waste of money. So I went to one of the most trustworthy sites to get Steam keys. G2A, of course, and I picked up a couple of bundles for around 15 euros. And yeah, most of these games were absolute garbage. I'm talking bottom of the barrel type games, the kind you scroll past on Steam without even reading the title. But to be fair, a few of them actually caught my interest and I ended up having way more fun than I expected. Alright, with that out of the way, let's start with the first game on the list. We'll kick it off with Aegis Defenders. And yeah, this one was kind of all over the place. The game follows a pair of ruin hunters, Bart and his granddaughter Clue, as they discover a powerful weapon known as Aegis. It's nothing crazy though, like I wasn't playing this for the story at all. You start with two characters, one handles combat, the other builds stuff. It's a cool idea, especially for co-op, but playing solo, it's kinda awkward having to swap between them all the time. Visually, I'll give it this. The pixel art actually looks nice. Characters are solid, environments are decent, like it's probably the strongest part of the game. But gameplay wise, yeah, this is where things start falling apart a bit. The platforming just feels off, like there's no real weight or momentum. It legit feels like some old school NES game. Combat isn't great either. Weapons feel weak, enemies take longer than they should, and it just ends up feeling kinda tedious. At first, you're just going through levels doing these really basic puzzles. And I mean basic, like I don't even know if I can call them puzzles. Like you're not even thinking, you're just doing them. And then out of nowhere, the game kind of turns into this tower defense game. You get like a minute to prepare, which sounds fine until you actually play it. It's just stressful for no reason. Half the time, I felt like I was fighting the controls more than the enemies. And trying to manage both characters solo is also not fun, especially on a controller. There is some progression though. You can buy upgrades, new abilities, weapons, and I believe also you can unlock new characters. So at least there's something to work towards. But I don't know, it didn't really make me want to keep going. Also, the music started getting on my nerves after a while. It's not terrible, it's just kind of repetitive and a bit annoying. So overall, Aegis Defenders is very mid. It's like right in the middle. And I can see this being way better with a friend. But solo, yeah, I'm probably not coming back to this again. Moving on, we've got Astrea, 6-sided oracles. Basically, you're in this world where everything runs in this cosmic balance between purity and corruption, and you're playing as one of these oracle characters trying to stop a spreading corruption that's threatening everything. It's fine, it sets the vibe, but honestly it's just there to justify the mechanics. So if you know Slay the Spire, you're gonna feel right at home, but don't let that fool you into thinking it's just a clone, because it's genuinely not. The core twist is that instead of cards, everything runs on dice. And I know that sounds simple, but the way they built the whole system around it is actually really smart. So normally in these games, you're just beating the enemy's HP down to 0, right? Well, Astrea flips that. You're trying to purify the enemy before they corrupt you. Think of it like 2 meters, theirs and yours, and you're racing to fill theirs before they fill yours. But here's where it gets spicy. Some of the dice you roll each turn come up corrupted, and those are forced plays. You have no choice, you have to use them. So now you're not just thinking about what you want to do, you're thinking about what you're forced to do and how you work around it. Now there are ways to actually cleanse these corrupted dice mid-turn, certain dice faces and abilities that you flip them back to normal before you play them, so it's not always a death sentence, but you can't always count on that. And when you do play a corrupted die, you're faced with this decision. Do you send that corruption to the enemy, or do you eat it yourself? Because if you just mindlessly dump everything onto them and over corrupt them, they get to unleash this powerful ability on you, which can absolutely turn a fight around. So sometimes eating the corruption yourself is actually the smarter call. Now each character also has virtues. These are special abilities that can actually change depending on how corrupted your character is at the moment. So your corruption isn't actually just a health bar, it's a mechanic you're actively playing around. Some builds even lean into getting corrupted on purpose to access certain virtue states, which is a really cool depth layer that you can kind of discover naturally as you play more. Speaking of characters, there's 6 of them, and I didn't get to play them all, but they all feel genuinely distinct. Like it's not just a stat difference, they each interact with the corruption and purification system in their own way, so runs feel pretty different depending on who you pick. Music is fine, it sets the mood, but it's not something I was going out of my way to listen to outside the game. Now content wise, you've got a big pool of dice to collect and build around, blessings, which are these passive items, which is also very Slay the Spire like, and then there's sentinels, which are these companion characters you can pick up from a sentinel shop mid-run. And yeah, the difficulty is real. This is not a game that's gonna hold your hand. Early runs you're probably gonna get cooked, but it also means that when a run comes together, it feels genuinely rewarding. So if you're into roguelikes and want something that feels familiar enough to get into quickly, but has enough of its own identity to keep you hooked, well, Astrea is a solid pick. Alright, moving on, we got the first of the mid to garbage tier games. Barrier X. And this game is great if you're a crackhead. So here's the concept. You move left and right with your arrow keys, you dodge obstacles, the game speeds up, and that's it. That's the game. It doesn't even have a soundtrack. You're just dodging obstacles in silence. I'll let it sink in for a second. Now look, I want to be fair. Each level does technically add something new. New obstacles, safe lines you have to stay in, moments where the game forces you in a direction you have to react to. But it's kind of like if someone kept handing you the same sandwich, just with a slightly different garnish each time. It's still the same sandwich, man. I clocked a whopping 25 minutes of playtime before I had to walk away. And not because the game expected me to be some speed-induced freak, I just got bored. My brain physically started rejecting it out of boredom. That is genuinely impressive in the worst possible way. Here's the thing though, I think there is an audience for this game, and you already know who you are. If you're the type of person who gets a kick out of pure reaction-based chaos with nothing else going on, no story, no variety, just you versus the screen, then honestly knock yourself out. Think of it as cardio for people who hate fun. It's not offensively bad though. It does what it says. It's an obstacle dodging game, and you do in fact dodge obstacles. Full marks for accuracy. But if you're looking for depth, variety, a story, a reason to care, then keep walking. This one lives firmly in the mid to garbage tier, and honestly the only reason it's not lower is because it runs fine. So Barrier X is a 3 out of 10. Boot it up when you want to fry your brain and stare at nothing. Next up is Caveman World Mountains of Unga Bunga, and let me tell you, this game is a masterpiece. okay, it's not. It's literally a piece of shit. It looks like it was made in 1998 as a Flash game, and I mean that as an insult to Flash games. I hate everything about this game. The controls, the graphics, the story, the missions, all of it. So the core gameplay is that you pick up fruit, you pick up keys to progress, and you get back to your family. That's it. That is the entire game. Someone actually sat down, designed that, and thought, yeah, that's a product worth selling and putting out into the world. And the actual story description on the Steam page reads, and I'm not making this up, who is Unga Bunga? This is Unga. Unga collects things. Bring home to Bungas.
This is a load of barnacles.
That's the story. That's what they wrote. On purpose. And the fact that this game has over 442 reviews on Steam with a mostly positive rating genuinely worries me about the state of humanity. I'm also 100% sure that this game exists purely to be thrown into these Steam key bundles just to pad it out with straight up garbage. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. There's nothing more to say. Fuck this game. Next game on the list is Deployment. And before I even get into the gameplay, how the fuck does this game have over 1,000 mostly positive Steam reviews? I genuinely don't understand, and I can't wrap my head around it. Just putting up the game and hearing the music pissed me off. Like, listen to this shit. Holy fuck, that's bad. Apparently, the game has a story, but I'm not going to get into that because who the fuck cares? What I will tell you is that it's a top-down arena shooter with a few classes and some shitty maps. And the game is completely dead. No players. I got thrown into matches with bots, which is fine, whatever, but for some unknown reason, these bots are cranked up to the maximum. Like, whoever made this game couldn't get real players, so they decided to make the bots as insufferable as possible out of spite. I could outplay them, but they were still eating my ass the whole time, which is not something I expected to be saying about a game nobody plays. You capture points, you try to win with those capture points, and then you close the game and never think about it again. Alright, next up is Distant Space, and oh boy, you know this game is gonna be a banger when you boot up the community hub, and this is what's greeting you. So the game itself is basically just an old school Atari arcade game from the 80s, except somehow they made it worse. Like, I don't know how you take a 40-year-old arcade game and make it worse. The only, and I mean the only reason to ever touch this game is if you're one of those dudes that collect achievements for the letters. You know the ones, spelling out their little edgy gamer tag on their Steam profile like it's 2009. This is a single solitary use case for this game's existence. This game doesn't deserve another second of my time. Our next game is Etrian Odyssey 2 HD Edition. So the premise is actually sick. You're building a crew, climbing a giant magical tree, the whole world is flooded, and there's a floating castle in the clouds. That's genuinely cool. But the combat, brother, the combat is literally Excel. It is just Excel. Menus inside menus, numbers, stats, abilities. At some point, I stopped feeling like I was playing a game and I started feeling like I was doing HR paperwork for 5 fictional people who keep dying anyway. And the worst part is, the game is completely unapologetic about it. It will kill your whole party and say nothing. And then they have the audacity to call this the HD edition. They looked at this game, a game that looks like it was legally required to run on a flip phone, and said, yeah, that's the one. Now look, the mapping system is genuinely brilliant. You draw the dungeon yourself as you explore, charting corridors, marking traps. I love it. Except, and of course there's always an except, this thing was built for a DS with a stylus and 2 screens. It had vision, tripped over itself, and shipped anyway. The music's decent though, I'll give it that. Up next is, I'm gonna let the professionals handle that one.
Inkulinati.
Anyway, that game. So I actually really like this one. The whole thing is based on medieval manuscript art, and if you've never looked that up, do yourself a favor, because those monks were not okay. The game takes that aesthetic and turns it into a turn-based strategy thing with role-like elements, and it just works. You're drawing creatures onto a page and sending them to fight. Pushing enemies off the edge of the board is genuinely one of the more satisfying things I've done in a game this year. It's simple, it's stupid, but I love it. The roguelite loop is nothing special on paper. You pick units, you grab passives, you choose your path, but it keeps you going. And as the battle plays out, the page fills up with this running narration of everything that just happened. This is such a cool feature. It's not a deep game, and it's not trying to be, but it's got more charm and personality than half of the AAA releases this year combined. And sometimes that's genuinely enough. The only thing that actually bothered me is that the game does not offer any online multiplayer. In a game built around one-on-one dueling, that's really weird. So I'm still a bit bitter about that. But yeah, it's a good game. I highly recommend it. Alright, we're gonna be speed running the rest of the shit ones. So first off, we got Nidhogg 2. Basically, you walk right, you stab people, and you try to reach the end without dying. And that's the whole game. But genuinely, it is fun, even though after 2 runs, you've seen absolutely everything there is to see, and there's just nothing left. So the concept is solid, but there's zero longevity. Moving on, we've got Particula, and this is a tower defense game where you're fending off your own darkest thoughts, which, I don't know, on paper, it sounds like it could actually be something, but it's really not. There's barely any content, there's no direction, it just kind of exists there. Moving on, we've got Peekaboo, and fucking hell, one of the worst prop hunts I've ever seen. The game is completely dead, and honestly, after spending any time with it, you completely understand why. There's no wonder nobody's playing it. Everything about it is just shit. Up next is Watchmen, The End Is Nigh. So this is a superhero brawler where the entire game is just progressively bigger men to punch. It does have combos, sure, but none of it really matters because you're just mashing through waves of large guys forever. And at some point, my sidekick even got stuck on a door. A regular fucking door. He just couldn't figure it out, and I felt that personally. Next is We Are the Dwarves, and I genuinely don't know how to describe this one, and I'm not even going to try because I quit after like 14 minutes of this game. What I will say is that this game has, without question, the greatest voice acting I have ever heard in my life. Let me bless your ears.
Anybody alive there? I repeat, anybody alive there?
Finally, we have Wordle. And wait. Before the pitchforks come out, I actually do enjoy Wordle. I do. The real one. The one on your browser. This one is just fucking bad. Matter of fact, here's me doing today's Wordle instead of playing this game. Alright, final 3 games. First up, we've got Procession to Calvary. Now this is a point-and-click adventure game stitched together entirely from real Renaissance paintings. Characters, environments, NPCs, all cut and pasted from actual historical artwork. The setup is that there has been this holy war that has just ended. Your side won, but the enemy leader, a dude called Heavenly Peter, legged it before you could stab him. Now your boss has graciously granted you one final murder to sort this out, because as he said, murders are not permitted anymore. Now the humor is pure Monty Python. It's surreal, anarchic, it has zero respect for religious imagery. Within 10 minutes, I had spanked a bishop and stolen crutches from an amputee.
Thanks a lot, you idiot.
Now you've also got a sword you can use on literally anyone. The game doesn't stop you, it just makes everyone hate you, closes off options, and funnels you into an escalating murder spree. It's less of a mechanic and more of a moral test you will absolutely fail at least once out of curiosity. It's a genuine little surprise from a random key bundle. Next up is Station to Station, and this game is the gaming equivalent of a Sunday afternoon with nowhere to be. You boot it up and your brain quietly clocks in, and before you know it, you've spent 45 minutes routing a cheese supply chain and you feel accomplished. The voxel art, and I had to look up what type of art this actually is, actually works beautifully here. It's blocking in the right way. It's charming, but also not cheap. I will admit, I did expect it to look terrible, which makes the pleasant surprise even better. And the detail of the world literally gaining color as you complete challenges is simply lovely. It's a tiny touch that makes you feel like a hero of industry rather than someone who just connected a wheat farm to a bakery for the 4th time. The difficulty ramps up. Allegedly. I only made it to Sunford Sands, at which point I had to call it a day. Either way, the early game puzzles are just right. The music is also very nice. It's nothing too crazy, which is honestly the highest compliment you can pay to a puzzle game. Station to Station is a cozy railway puzzler that does exactly what it promises, and then sneakily makes you care about the cheese distribution. I'll definitely be back. And finally, we have What the Golf. And this is the game I was looking forward to the most. What the Golf is the game you think you know until the moment you absolutely don't. You've heard of it and you think you're prepared, and then your golfer gets launched across the green like a ragdoll and you realize you understood nothing. That's the magic trick this game pulls off over and over. Just when you've settled into a rhythm, the rug gets yanked. One level you're hurling a golf club, the next you're guiding a rocket through a forest. The gimmick is always something else, always something you didn't see coming, and somehow it always lands. It's less a golf game and more a conveyor belt of absurd ideas wearing a golf-shaped disguise. And the crazy part, the game's actually relaxing. There's no pressure, no punishing difficulty, no scorecard making you feel bad about yourself. It's just vibes and chaos, which turns out to be a genuinely pleasant combination. The only problem I have with this game is that after a while it does get tedious. These levels are brilliant in short bursts, but the game doesn't quite know when to let you breathe. And after a while, the parade of gimmicks starts to feel like exactly that, a parade. It's not a game you sit with for hours. It's a game you pick up, get delighted by for 30 to 45 minutes, and then put down before it outstays its welcome. So it came in with high expectations and it delivered. It's funny, it's surprising, it's weirdly chill, and it has absolutely nothing to do with golf. And that's gonna do it for this one. Whether you watched the whole thing or just skipped straight to the end, I respect it either way, and I thank you for being here. So if anything feels a bit rough around the edges, I'm a complete amateur at this whole video thing, but I had nothing better to do and figured it was time to dust off the old channel. And apparently also empty my bank account in the process. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and if you're interested in more, make sure to subscribe. Please.